Hey, that's my spot, Marcus snapped, eyes narrowing at the empty metal chair. The briefing room was vast, humming with energy conduits and the faint scent of ozone. But someone or something had claimed his seat. A soft click echoed from the corner. Marcus pivoted, weapon instinctively half-raised. Nothing moved, but a faint shimmer lingered in the air like heat over desert sand. He frowned. This isn't funny. Whoever you are, come out. No reply. Just the hum of the ship's engine and a subtle vibration underfoot. Marcus's jaw tightened. His instinct screamed someone had been here. Someone unhuman. Marcus had never lost his cool, but this felt wrong. Something different. His eyes scanned the room. A small folded piece of paper lay on the chair, the kind humans used for memos. Yet the paper seemed alive, slightly glowing, edges pulsing with a rhythm like a heartbeat. He picked it up. The note was simple. Sit somewhere else, watch. What the hell? Marcus muttered, eyes darting to the doorway. He wasn't sure if the message was a warning or a taunt. A shiver crawled down his spine. Marcus had faced alien threats before, but this felt personal, calculated, intelligent. He glanced at his squad mates across the room. Quiet murmurs passed between them. Confusion painted on every face. Sergeant Lila, sharp-eyed and skeptical, raised an eyebrow. What is it? Marcus held up the note. No idea. Someone or something left this. And it's weird. Like it's watching us, Lila frowned. You've been in combat too long. Stop imagining ghosts. Sit somewhere else, Marcus hesitated. His hand lingered over the chair. It wasn't just a seat. It was a space claimed, a challenge issued without words. He could feel it pressing against his pride, calling his bluff. Outside, the starfield streaked past the ship's viewport. A distant flash of light, almost like a ripple in reality, made Marcus stiffen. That wasn't the ordinary hum of hyperspace. Something was out there, unseen, waiting. The silence stretched, heavy and expectant. Then a soft sound, almost a whisper, brushed the edge of his consciousness. Not through ears. Through mind. Watch. Marcus froze, pulse racing. The voice or thought was unmistakably alien. Smooth. Cold, yet tinged with curiosity. What the... Did you hear that? Lila asked, eyes scanning the room. She didn't seem to hear it, only the mechanical hum of the ship. Marcus swallowed hard. Yeah, he muttered. I did. He sank into the next chair, hands clenched around his rifle. The note had said watch, and now he understood it wasn't a request, it was an order. The room felt smaller. Shadows stretched unnaturally across the walls. The air hummed like a cage around him, charged with expectation. Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that someone or something was analyzing him, reading him. Time felt slippery, seconds stretching like taffy. Then from the corner of his eye, movement. Subtle, shifting, almost invisible. A dark silhouette against the metal wall, too large to be human, too graceful to be clumsy. Marcus's hand twitched toward his weapon, but he stopped. The figure didn't attack. It simply watched, calculated, patient. Who are you? He demanded, voice low. What do you want from us? No answer. Only a rustle like silk brushing stone. The air around the note shimmered, folding reality for a fraction of a second. Marcus felt a tickle in his mind, an echo of a thought that wasn't his own. Time is short. Watch carefully. Marcus swallowed hard. The words didn't make sense, yet they felt urgent. A threat lingered behind them, invisible but palpable. Something in the ship's systems beyond human sensors had shifted. Lila, he said quietly, whatever this is, it's not just playing games. There's a reason we're being watched, and I think we're running out of time. She glanced at him, skepticism still written across her face, but a flicker of unease betrayed her confidence. Outside the viewport, the stars blurred, but in the corner of his vision Marcus saw it again, a shadow stretching beyond angles, edges that defied geometry. Watching. Waiting. Marcus gritted his teeth. He didn't know what this alien wanted. He didn't know if it was friend or foe, but one thing was certain, it challenged him, and Marcus never backed down from a challenge. A soft chime echoed from the ship's console. Sensors were detecting movement. Something approaching. Something massive. Marcus glanced at the note again. Watch. And he knew with a cold certainty that the moment of reckoning had arrived. The shadow shifted. The unknown waited. And somewhere deep inside, Marcus felt a thrill that only humans could feel. A dangerous, burning exhilaration at standing against the impossible. The silence ended. The game had begun. Marcus didn't move. Every muscle tensed like a drawn wire. Outside the viewport, the stars streaked past, oblivious to the silent predator aboard their ship. The shadow lingered, shifting ever so slightly, defying logic. It wasn't solid, not really. It flowed like liquid darkness trying to understand the edges of reality. Lila broke the silence. Marcus, this isn't normal. Whatever's out there, it's not human. And it isn't signaling for a fight. Yet. Marcus's jaw clenched. Then what is it signaling? Who just sits outside your brain and whispers, "Watch"? He shifted his gaze back to the note. Its glow pulsed faintly, almost like a heartbeat in the dark. Watch. Simple word. No punctuation. Infinite meaning. The shadow moved again, gliding toward the console. Sensors flickered as if rejecting its presence. Lights hummed, screens scrambled, warning alerts sounding briefly before fading. Marcus felt a chill ripple through him. The alien wasn't just hiding, it was probing. Feeling them out. Testing their nerves. "Sir," Lila said quietly, voice low, almost a whisper. "We're losing comm signals with the rest of the fleet." Marcus's mind raced. Communication blackout meant isolation, alone against this entity, alone in the silence that grew heavier with every second. His chest tightened. Fear was a tool and he would wield it, but only for a moment. Humans thrived on facing the impossible. They stared into the void and made it flinch. "Keep the scanners up," he ordered, voice steady, though his heart beat a warning drum in his chest. "And tell me if you see any movement." Lila nodded, her hands dancing across the console like a pianist. Marcus's eyes never left the shadow. He noticed details others would miss. The way it bent the light, the subtle ripple across the floor beneath it, the way air seemed to warp around its presence. It wasn't camouflage, it was camouflage bending perception itself. Then the alien spoke. Not out loud.
"Not in words, you..."
"Watch, you see. You understand?" Marcus froze. The words weren't spoken, yet they were in his head. Clear. Precise. Observant. "Yeah," he muttered under his breath. "I see you. And I understand, enough to know you're not here to die quietly." The shadow rippled as if amused. "You understand, yet you do not fear enough." Fear. The word struck Marcus like a lightning bolt. It wasn't fear itself. It was the alien testing his fear, weighing his reaction. Humans could be unpredictable. That unpredictability fascinated it. Marcus exhaled, letting the tension settle into resolve. "I'm not scared," he said, louder this time, more human than thought. "I don't back down from a challenge. You can study us all you want. You'll see humans adapt. You'll see. Us rise." Lila glanced at him, eyes sharp. "Marcus, do you know what it is?" "No," he admitted. "But I know one thing. We're not just targets, we're proof." "Proof of what?" He didn't say. "Not yet. Proof that humans weren't fragile. Proof that even in the unknown, even in silence, they could dominate. Not by brute force, but by the cleverness that coursed through every human mind." Suddenly, alarms blared. Red lights painted the room like blood. The shadow lurched, a ripple of movement across the walls faster than Marcus thought possible. "External breach," Lila shouted. "Airlock compromised, massive pressure drop." Marcus sprinted to the console, fingers flying. He didn't think, he reacted. Door sealed, systems rerouted. The shadow hovered near the viewport, observing, unmoving, as if letting him play the game. The note in his hand pulsed violently now, bright as fire. "Watch." Not a warning. A command. An instruction. Marcus tore his eyes from the note. "You want me to watch?" He muttered, teeth gritted. "Fine, I'll watch. And I'll act. And I'll win." Another ripple ran through the shadow. Marcus felt it then. Not in his eyes, not in the sensors, but in his mind. A pressure. A suggestion. A feeling of inevitability. Time is short. Make your move. He glanced at Lila. Her face was pale, but her fingers flew across the panel. "Pressure's stabilizing," she said. "But it won't hold long if..." The shadow lashed forward faster than thought. Not attacking, but cutting through systems. Severing energy flows. Sparks flew. The lights flickered. Alarms screamed. Marcus grabbed the note, held it tight, and whispered, "You want a challenge? Then here's one." The air vibrated. The shadow paused. Marcus felt it consider him, analyze him. And in that frozen heartbeat, he understood something terrifying and exhilarating. The alien wasn't just testing them. It respected courage. It waited for the humans to show their edge. He grinned. Not bravely, not recklessly, but the way a human soldier grins when staring into the impossible. "I see you," he whispered, "and I'm ready." Outside, the stars blurred again, silent witnesses to the game unfolding inside the ship. Somewhere, beyond sight, beyond comprehension, the shadow lingered, watching, waiting, calculating. Marcus's pulse hammered. The note throbbed in his palm. The clock was ticking. And he knew the alien had already decided. Only one side would move first, and that choice could cost everything. Marcus felt the pulse of the ship under his boots, a steady rhythm that mocked the chaos around him. Sparks hissed from the damaged panels, and the air tasted faintly of ozone. The shadow hadn't moved physically in a way he could track. It slipped between moments, folding itself into the corners of his vision. "Pressure's holding," Lila said, voice tight. "But the breach is growing. If we don't stabilize the outer hull within 10 minutes... "I know," Marcus interrupted. His fingers hovered over the console, hesitating only for a fraction of a second. He gripped the glowing note instead. It vibrated faintly like it had a heartbeat of its own. "Watch." He obeyed instinctively, not just to follow the command, but because he understood that the note was more than paper. It was a signal, a tether to something beyond human perception, a key to survival. A ripple moved through the shadow. Marcus could feel it, a pressure on his thoughts, a quiet calculation. Observe and act. Do not falter. Marcus gritted his teeth. He loved this part, the human edge, the thrill of defiance against forces that should have been beyond reckoning. He rose from the chair, boots clanging against the metal floor. "Lila," he said, voice steady but low, "we're going to do this my way." Her eyes narrowed. "Your way usually gets people killed." He smirked, a hint of swagger beneath the tension. "Not this time. Not me." They moved through the corridors, lights flickering with every step. Marcus felt the shadow tracing them, a presence in the metal walls and the hum of the engines in the very air they breathed. It wasn't visible, but it was there, watching, waiting, judging. At the central console, Marcus slammed his palm down. "Override initiated. Manual recalibration." Sparks erupted as systems struggled to follow his commands. Lila's fingers danced across the panels, stabilizing the energy flow. The countdown on the breach read 6:42. Less than 7 minutes. And then, almost imperceptibly, the shadow moved again. A distortion in the air. A bending of light, and the temperature dropped, freezing the breath in Marcus's lungs. The note throbbed violently now. "Do not fail." Marcus didn't flinch. He took a slow, deliberate breath, letting the fear sharpen his senses. This is what humans do. They face the impossible. They endure. They dominate, and they think faster, strike harder, and survive smarter than any other species that pretends to understand the universe. He activated the manual override. Energy pulses raced along the conduits, red warning lights flickering to green. The breach slowed. Marcus's muscles ached from the strain, but the rush of victory, even partial, sang in his veins. Then the shadow spoke again. Not in words, but in an echo of thought, soft as silk brushing steel. "Interesting, you do not break. You do not flee. But will you kill?" Marcus paused, heart hammering. A question without words. An assessment of character. Humans didn't just react. They calculated, strategized, adapted. He smiled. "No," he said aloud, almost to himself. "But I'll beat you. Outthink you. Outlast you. And I'll make you respect us." The shadow pulsed with an unreadable rhythm like a slow drumbeat. Marcus realized the note had not just been a command, it had been an invitation. A test of humanity itself. The outer hull trembled. Alarm sirens blared. Lila's hands flew across the panels, sweat dripping down her forehead. 5 minutes, she hissed. "If we don't seal it..." Marcus gritted his teeth. "Then we make our move before it's too late." He looked down at the note. "Watch." It glowed brighter, almost hot against his palm. The shadow shifted again, closer this time, folding the corridor in on itself. Marcus felt a brush on the edge of perception, like static electricity over skin. A warning that the alien could manipulate not just space, but perception, memory, maybe even thought. He straightened. "Lila, listen to me. Whatever this thing is, it's curious. It's learning. And humans are not predictable. That's our edge. That's why we survive. That's why we win. Lila glanced at him, fear and awe warring in her gaze. Marcus, you really think that's enough? He smiled, grim and confident. It has to be, because we have to be enough. Another ripple of the shadow, faster this time, and the lights flickered violently. Marcus and Lila staggered slightly, but didn't fall. The ship's metal groaned as if sensing the confrontation, and then the shadow paused. Almost reverent. Marcus could feel it thinking, calculating, watching him watch. The note pulsed once more, then stilled, a soft glow remaining in his hand. Watch. Marcus's eyes narrowed, his jaw clenched. He realized the alien was no longer just a threat. It was a mirror, a reflection of what humans could be under pressure, unyielding, adaptable, fierce. Outside the viewport, the stars streaked past like knives. Inside, Marcus felt the weight of destiny pressing against him. The shadow waited. The clock ticked, and Marcus, human, defiant, unshakable, prepared to turn observation into action. The breach continued to widen. Seconds counted down. And in that corridor, filled with sparks, flickering light, and tension that could shatter minds, Marcus felt one certainty. Humanity would not kneel. Not to fear, not to darkness, not to the unknown. He tightened his grip on the note, and then he smiled. The metal groaned like it was alive. Sparks rained from the console, and alarms blared a harsh rhythm in the narrow corridor. Marcus didn't flinch. Every nerve in his body screamed danger, but every instinct shouted opportunity. 3 minutes, Lila said, her voice sharp, almost trembling. Her hands were steady on the panel, but sweat streaked her face. If the hull tears completely, we're done for. Vacuum will, Marcus didn't answer. His eyes tracked the shadows that moved along the walls, the flickers that betrayed the alien's presence. It wasn't attacking physically, not yet, but the way it warped reality, twisted perception, made every step toward the breach feel like walking through liquid fire. The note in his hand glowed, pulsing in sync with his heartbeat. Watch. Marcus didn't just watch. He calculated. Humans survived because they could see patterns in chaos. They could act when logic failed others. He scanned the ship's systems, tracing the pressure drops, monitoring the structural weaknesses. Every decision, every movement was a gambit. The shadow shifted again, faster, flowing along the corridor in a wave of darkness. Marcus felt its intelligence pressing against his mind, probing for weaknesses, and he smiled. You're curious, he muttered almost to himself. Good. You'll see what humans do when the clock is ticking. Lila glanced at him, panic flickering in her eyes. You think it's testing us? Yes, Marcus said. And we're about to answer. He lunged for the nearest maintenance hatch, yanking open the panel with a grunt. Sparks sizzled as he exposed the emergency conduits. His fingers moved over the systems, rerouting energy, stabilizing hull pressure. The note's glow flared. Watch. Outside, the stars streaked past the viewport, indifferent, but inside every second felt like an eternity. The breach widened. Air hissed from the cracks, screaming warnings, then the shadow acted. Faster than thought, it leapt, or rather flowed toward the hull, merging with metal and circuitry. Marcus could feel it in his mind. The alien probing, analyzing, and yet for the first time it hesitated. Lila, Marcus barked, feed power to the secondary conduits. I'll stabilize the main line. Her fingers danced over the panel, rerouting energy through fragile systems. Sparks flew. Red lights turned green. The hull trembled but held. The shadow pulsed, almost like it was laughing or curious. Marcus could sense its calculation, its alien mind attempting to anticipate human action. But humans were chaotic by design. Humans were cunning. Humans had swagger. He pressed forward, forcing a manual override, rerouting every circuit he could touch. The note throbbed violently in his hand. Watch. He obeyed, but he also led. He acted. The corridor shook. Metal bent. The shadow surged, testing him, but Marcus stayed ahead. Every thought, every instinct, every flicker of awareness was used to exploit the alien's curiosity. 2 minutes. The countdown raced in their heads. Lila's voice trembled. It's too close. No, Marcus snapped. It's exactly where it wants us. Keep going. Trust me, the note pulsed, bright as fire now. He felt a thrill, an exhilaration humans knew too well. The edge of death, the knife's point between life and oblivion and still standing. still winning. A ripple of darkness surged from the shadow faster than he expected. It wrapped around the conduit. Marcus gritted his teeth, yanking the system offline, rerouting at the last second. Sparks exploded. The metal hissed and groaned. The alien recoiled, sensing the defiance, tasting the human ingenuity. Interesting, the thought pressed in his mind. Persistent, clever, defiant. See that? Marcus said to Lila, voice low, charged with fire. That's why humans survive. That's why we dominate, we adapt. We conquer without even breaking a sweat, and sometimes with just one spark of thought. The breach slowed, the hull shuddering but stabilizing. 2 seconds left. The shadow pulsed almost imperceptibly, then retreated to the far corner of the corridor, folding itself into nothingness or something humans couldn't perceive. Marcus collapsed against the panel, chest heaving. Lila leaned against the wall, pale, trembling, but alive. The note glowed softly now, dimmer than before, almost content. Watch. Marcus grinned, raw exhilaration in his eyes. We survived, he said, barely. But we survived. Lila exhaled sharply, trying to steady herself. Barely doesn't even cover it. That thing, it's beyond anything I've ever... Marcus cut her off. It's curious. It's testing us. And we just proved why humans win. Not because we're the biggest or strongest. Because we're unpredictable. Because we think. Because we never give up. We never fold. We never lose our swagger. The corridor was silent now, save for the hum of the ship's engines. The shadow was gone, for now. But Marcus knew it wasn't defeated. It never was. He looked down at the note. Soft glow, simple words. Watch. And he understood. Watching was just the beginning. The alien was observing, yes, but humans didn't just watch. They acted. They adapted. They survived. They thrived, Marcus smiled almost arrogantly. The game's not over. It's only begun. Outside, the stars streaked past, silent witnesses to human resilience. Inside, a soldier gripped a glowing note, chest heaving, eyes alight with defiance, ready for whatever came next. The ship had settled into an uneasy quiet, but Marcus knew better than to trust silence. Every creak of metal, every flicker of light reminded him that the shadow was still out there, watching, waiting, learning. The glowing note pulsed faintly in his hand, a heartbeat against his palm. Watch. Lila wiped sweat from her brow, trying to steady her nerves. Marcus, it didn't attack physically. Not directly, why? He shook his head. It's studying us, learning, testing, whatever this thing is, it doesn't just want to kill, it wants to understand. Understanding. That was alien. But Marcus grinned. Humans were understandable only to themselves. Their ingenuity, their defiance, their raw willpower. It was the kind of puzzle no alien could fully predict. A flicker of movement caught his eye. Across the room, shadows stretched and twisted, bending angles that shouldn't exist. Marcus felt it before he saw it. A presence brushing the edge of perception, brushing his thoughts, probing his mind. You survived. But will you continue? Marcus clenched his jaw. I will, we will. Humans don't stop when the impossible stares them down. We fight, we adapt, and we win. The note pulsed again, almost vibrating with excitement. Watch. He understood now. Watching wasn't passive. It was a command to perceive, to act, to anticipate. Suddenly, the ship's lights flickered violently. Red warnings flashed across the walls. A low hum grew, resonating through the metal floors, the corridors, even in Marcus's chest. The shadow wasn't just moving, it was manipulating the ship. Marcus, Lila shouted, voice cutting through the rising tension. Sensors show multiple hull points destabilizing. It's targeting life support next. Marcus's pulse jumped. He sprinted toward the emergency override station, the note clutched tight. Sparks flew, panels hissed. The air smelled sharp, electric, dangerous. His mind raced faster than any computer could calculate. This is it, Lila. Time to show it why humans dominate. The shadow surged through the corridors, warping space, bending light, appearing and disappearing. It was no longer a presence to track. It was a force, testing every instinct, every decision. Marcus ignored the fear, the weight of near-certain death. He worked the controls, rerouting energy through fragile conduits, stabilizing pressure points, predicting the shadow's moves before it made them. His mind was a machine, calculating chaos with human intuition layered on top. The note glowed fiercely now, almost hot in his hand. Watch. But Marcus understood. Watching meant learning, anticipating, acting. And he acted. A pulse of distorted light surged from the shadow, striking the hull. Marcus countered with a reroute of power, stabilizing the breach just in time. Sparks exploded around him, but he didn't flinch. Lila's eyes widened in awe as she realized what he'd done. Humans didn't just respond, they anticipated, adapted, outsmarted. The shadow recoiled, or at least Marcus perceived it as recoil. The alien was curious now, testing more aggressively, probing deeper. It wasn't brute force. It was precision, intellect, observation. Marcus felt its attention fix on him. Not Lila, not the ship, but him. Persistent, clever, unpredictable. Marcus grinned, his chest pounding. "That's right," he muttered. "Humans are unpredictable. We don't just survive, we thrive. And you'll never fully understand that." Lila's hands moved swiftly across the controls, rerouting energy, sealing minor breaches. "Marcus, how do you keep calm? We're literally seconds from catastrophe." He smirked, chest heaving. "Because humans excel in the impossible. Fear sharpens us, but courage defines us. And we're not just reacting, we're shaping this outcome." Another surge of energy ran through the corridor. Lights twisted unnaturally. The shadow flowed closer, almost tangible now, folding reality like paper. Marcus felt it probing his memories, his decisions, testing the very essence of his humanity. But he didn't retreat. He stood tall, gripping the note, "Watch." He obeyed, but he also led. He moved faster, smarter, stronger. Every human instinct, every experience, every ounce of willpower combined into a single burning purpose: survive and dominate. The shadow pulsed, almost like it was impressed. Marcus could feel it in his mind. The alien recognized something rare, something terrifying to an intelligence built on observation alone. Humans were not easily understood, not easily predicted, not easily defeated. Time slowed. Hull integrity fluctuated dangerously. One wrong move, one hesitation, and the ship and its crew would die. But Marcus didn't hesitate. He rerouted, recalibrated, adjusted. The breaches stabilized, life support flickering back to safety. The shadow paused, and for the first time, Marcus felt respect radiating from it, not fear. The alien had learned. It had calculated. But humans had taught it something too: defiance, intelligence, courage beyond comprehension. The note's glow softened. Its command fulfilled, for now. "Watch." Marcus exhaled, muscles trembling, but his grin burned brighter than exhaustion. He knew this was only the beginning. The alien wasn't gone. It wasn't defeated. It was curious, and that was far more dangerous than any weapon. But humans thrived on challenge. Humans rose when tested. Humans dominated when pressed to the edge. Marcus turned to Lila, eyes alight with adrenaline. "We just proved something, Lila. They can't predict us. They can't break us. And this game? It's ours to play." Outside, stars streaked past. Inside, humans had stood against the impossible. And the shadow, somewhere beyond perception, had taken notice. The note pulsed faintly in his hand, echoing the thrill of battle. "Watch." And Marcus smiled, because humans didn't just watch. They acted. They survived. They dominated. The ship hummed with fragile life, every panel a reminder of how close they had come to oblivion. Marcus gripped the glowing note, its pulse in sync with his heartbeat. "Watch." The word no longer felt like a command. It was a challenge, a test. The shadow was no longer subtle. It flowed through the corridors like liquid darkness, warping reality, bending angles, coiling around the edges of perception. Marcus could feel it probing, anticipating, weighing each human action. "This isn't observation anymore," Lila whispered, her voice tense. It's challenging us." Marcus didn't respond immediately. He studied the shadow as it twisted along the walls. Humans thrived under challenge. It was in their nature to turn pressure into power, chaos into strategy. This alien doesn't understand that yet. The note pulsed again. "Watch." He obeyed, eyes sharp, mind sharper. A distortion rippled across the room. The lights flickered violently, throwing everything into surreal shadows. Marcus felt the alien's presence pressing against him, not just observing, but testing the very limits of his perception. Then the ship's system screamed in warning, multiple life support nodes destabilizing. Hull integrity failing, oxygen dropping. "Marcus, we've got less than 2 minutes," Lila shouted, panic in her voice. If we don't stabilize... Marcus's teeth clenched. He didn't panic. He calculated. Humans dominated the impossible not by luck but by sheer force of intellect and will. We adapt, he said, voice low but unwavering. We act. That's what humans do. The shadow surged, faster now, almost tangible, like a black storm sweeping through the corridor. Marcus felt it brush against his mind, testing his reflexes, weighing his strategy. Will you bend? Will you break? No, he whispered. I bend nothing. I break nothing. I defeat. He lunged toward the nearest console, rerouting power through fragile conduits, stabilizing critical nodes. Sparks erupted. Alarm screamed. The note pulsed hot in his hand. Watch. Outside, stars streaked past, silent and indifferent. But inside, Marcus felt alive in a way only humans knew. Adrenaline coursing. Intellect firing. Instincts honed from centuries of survival. The shadow twisted closer, its presence folding the corridor in on itself. Marcus could see distortions in reality, subtle but undeniable, and yet he didn't hesitate. Lila, feed power to the secondary nodes. I'll handle the primary, he commanded. Her fingers flew across the panel. Red warnings turned green. Sparks hissed. Hull trembled but slowly, imperceptibly stabilized. The shadow recoiled, or at least Marcus perceived it as recoil. Alien thought brushed against his mind. Persistent, clever, defiant. Humans thrived on defiance. Marcus smiled grimly. Exactly, a sudden shift. The shadow surged directly at him faster than thought. Marcus braced himself, feeling reality warp around its movement. Time slowed, senses sharpened. He acted before the shadow could fully manifest. Rerouting power, sealing breaches, stabilizing oxygen flow. The note glowed violently. Watch. But Marcus understood now. Watching wasn't enough. Observation was only the first step. Humans didn't just watch. They learned, they adapted, they struck back. The shadow pulsed, almost contemplative, as if acknowledging his realization. It shifted back, merging with the walls, twisting into the angles, folding away. The corridor stilled. Marcus's chest heaved. Sweat dripped, muscles screaming, nerves alive with raw exhilaration. We did it, he said, almost to himself. But it's not over. Lila leaned against the panel, trembling. How? How did we survive that? Marcus held up the note. Its glow softened. Watch. We understood it. We anticipated. We acted. That's humans. That's why we survive. That's why we dominate. The shadow remained, hidden but aware. Marcus could feel it in the air, in the vibration underfoot, in the silent hum of the ship. It hadn't left. It had learned. And now it was preparing for its next move. Marcus's grin was sharp, almost arrogant. It's curious now, he said. It knows humans aren't just prey. It knows we're the challenge. And he welcomed it. Humans thrived on challenge. Humans excelled under pressure. Humans, when cornered, became unstoppable. The note pulsed faintly. Watch. Marcus tucked it into his pocket. Watching was over. Action had begun. Outside the viewport, stars streaked past, indifferent witnesses to the unfolding war of perception, intellect, and spirit. Inside, a human soldier stood defiant, ready to face an alien intelligence that had never encountered anything like him. The shadow lingered, silent and patient. Marcus knew the alien had realized one critical fact. Humans could not be predicted. Humans could not be broken. The game was far from over. But humanity had claimed its first victory. A warning, a declaration, and Marcus, heart racing, eyes alight, prepared for the confrontation he had been waiting for. The alien had issued a challenge, and humans never lost challenges. The corridor was silent, but the air was electric with tension. Every spark from the damaged panels, every hum of the ship's engines, carried the weight of the unseen presence. Marcus stood in the center, the glowing note in his palm, its pulse echoing the rhythm of his heart. Watch. This time he understood fully. Watching was not passive. It was preparation. Observation was a prelude to domination. Humanity did not just endure. Their resilience reshaped reality itself. The shadow emerged. Finally, not in the corner, not folded in angles, but fully present, or as present as something that could fold reality could ever be. Dark, fluid, intelligent, alive in ways humans could feel but never fully comprehend. Its presence pressed against Marcus's mind, probing, calculating, testing. You have survived. The thought was heavy, deliberate. You have adapted? Yes, Marcus whispered, voice steady, unwavering. And we will thrive. Humans always rise. We adapt, we dominate, we endure. The shadow pulsed, almost contemplative. Marcus realized it was no longer just testing him. It was engaged. It sought an answer, a measure of human spirit, intellect, and courage. Lila joined him, breath steadying, fingers brushing sparks from the consoles. Marcus, it's watching differently now. Like it's respecting us? Marcus grinned, a fire burning in his eyes. Respect isn't enough. We'll prove it. Humans don't just earn respect. We command it, and that's exactly what we're about to do. The ship groaned. Hull shuddered under the alien's manipulation. Time seemed to stretch, each second thick with expectation. Marcus's pulse rose. This was not just survival, it was confrontation. The alien wanted to see humanity's edge. Marcus would show it. He slammed a fist against the console, initiating a deliberate override. Lights flickered, energy conduits sparked, but the critical node stabilized. Life support surged back. Hull pressure steadied. The shadow reacted instantly, probing, twisting reality, attempting to anticipate. But Marcus had already moved ahead. Every step he took, every command, every calculation had been a chess move laid in anticipation of this very moment. You learn fast, he muttered. But humans play differently. We anticipate the unimaginable. The shadow pulsed, almost acknowledging him. It surged, and Marcus responded, rerouting energy faster than thought, sealing breaches before they could fully form. Sparks rained. Alarms screamed. Lila's hands flew across the controls, reinforcing every adjustment Marcus made. Persistent, clever, defiant. The alien's thought was heavier now, almost reverent. Marcus held the note tightly. It glowed brighter than ever. Watch. But this time, watching was complete. Observation had become domination. Adaptation had become control. Humans had shaped the impossible, not bent to it. The shadow paused, folded, twisted. For a heartbeat or 1,000, it simply watched him. Marcus grinned. He understood. Humanity had proven something beyond words. They could endure, they could resist, and when cornered, they would rise stronger than before. The note's glow faded slightly, almost in approval. Watch. Marcus tucked it away, his mind clear. Humans didn't just wait. They acted. They survived. They dominated outside, stars streaked past, silent witnesses. Inside, the alien lingered, observing not just with curiosity but with recognition. Marcus knew it had learned something it could never fully quantify. Humans were unpredictable, relentless and unstoppable in their will to survive. He turned to Lila. It's done for now, he said, voice calm, strong. But this is only the beginning. Humanity leaves its mark everywhere it goes. Lila nodded, awe and pride mingling in her eyes. We survived. And it didn't just test us, it respected us, Marcus smiled, faint swagger in every movement. Exactly. Humans don't just fight. We dominate, and anyone who thinks otherwise will learn the hard way. The shadow retreated, folding into the ship's metal, disappearing from perception, but leaving behind a silent acknowledgement. Humans had been measured, and they had not failed. The note pulsed one final time, faintly. Watch. It was not a command now. It was a declaration. Humans had won respect through intellect, courage, and defiance. Humanity had faced the impossible and prevailed. Marcus stood in the corridor, chest heaving, eyes bright, a grin of triumph on his face. Somewhere in the infinite darkness, the alien lingered, watching, aware that humans were not to be underestimated. And in that quiet, that charged pause between stars and steel, Marcus understood something profound. No matter the threat, no matter the unknown, no matter the shadow, humanity would endure, humanity would dominate, humanity would always rise. The echo of the note lingered, silent yet powerful, a reminder for all to hear. Watch. But humans didn't just watch. Humans acted, and the universe would remember.